Stop what you are doing right now, because what I am about to share could save your life, and I do not say that lightly. Most doctors, including many oncologists, are still not explaining this to their patients over 50. Not because they do not know, but because the medical system gives them 7 minutes per visit, and this cannot be explained in 7 minutes. I am Dr. Wilson Tang, vascular biologist, cancer researcher for over 25 years, and what I have found, confirmed by a landmark study from Harvard, is this. One specific category of daily habits reduces overall cancer risk by up to 61% in adults over 50. 61%. That is not a drug. That is not chemotherapy. That is your daily routine. And today, I am going to break down the 5 most powerful components, ranked from helpful to absolutely transformational, so that by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to start tomorrow morning. Now here's what I need you to understand. Number 1 on this list is something 90% of people over 60 are doing completely wrong, and fixing it could cut your cancer risk nearly in half on its own. So do not skip ahead. The order matters. Each habit builds on the last. But first, a quick question for you. Drop a comment right now. Tell me your age. And tell me this. Has a doctor ever sat down with you and talked about cancer prevention? Not just screening, prevention. I read every comment on this channel. Your answers shape what I cover next. Take 10 seconds. Share. Now let me set some context before we dive in. Everything I share today is based on published research and over 2 decades of clinical experience. But your health is unique. Always confirm with your personal doctor before making changes, especially if you are on medication, which we will talk about specifically for each habit. All right, let us get into it, starting at number 5. Number 5, cold water hydration. And before you roll your eyes thinking this is too simple to matter, hear me out. Because what happens inside your body after age 55 makes this far more critical than you realize. Here is what most people do not know. After the age of 55, something called interoceptive thirst sensitivity declines. That is medical speak for this. Your brain gets worse at telling you when you are thirsty. A study from the University of Barcelona in 2019 found that adults over 60 are operating at 8 to 12% below optimal cellular hydration, and they never feel thirsty. Now, why does that matter for cancer? Let me paint a picture. Your lymphatic system is like the body's internal garbage truck. It collects cellular waste, damaged DNA fragments, toxins, and it runs almost entirely on water. When you are dehydrated, that garbage truck slows down. Damaged cells accumulate. Inflammation rises. And chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the primary drivers of cancer initiation, particularly colorectal, bladder, and kidney cancers. The Harvard Nurses' Health Study followed over 116,000 women for 28 years. They found that women who drank more than 5 glasses of water daily had a 45% lower risk of colon cancer compared to those who drank 2 or fewer. That is remarkable for something that costs 50 cents a day. For aging bodies specifically, hydration supports something called autophagy. Think of autophagy like a quality control inspector inside each cell, breaking down damaged components before they can mutate. After 65, autophagy efficiency drops by about 30%, but proper hydration partially restores that function. Here is how to do it right. Keep a 20-ounce glass of filtered water on your nightstand. The moment your feet hit the floor, drink it. All of it. Before coffee, before food, before you check your phone, add a squeeze of fresh lemon if you like. The delimonene in lemon peel has its own anti-tumor properties. Now, I need to be crystal clear about something. If you have congestive heart failure or chronic kidney disease, increasing water intake without medical guidance can be dangerous. Your fluid balance is delicate. Talk to your doctor first. And if you are taking diuretics for blood pressure or heart conditions, this protocol may need adjustment. Bring this to your next appointment. Your synergy tip. Pair your morning hydration with 10 minutes of light movement, even just walking around your house, because movement stimulates lymphatic flow and compounds the cellular cleansing effect by up to 40%. According to research from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden, that is number 5, the foundation. But what you layer on top of it at breakfast could be even more powerful. Let me show you number 4. Number 4, fermented foods. Now pay close attention to this number, because the mechanism here is fascinating, and it connects directly to something happening in your gut right now that you cannot feel. I am talking about naturally fermented options. Plain yogurt with live cultures, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso. These have been eaten for thousands of years across the world's longest living populations. Dismissed for decades by Western medicine, and now the subject of over 1,200 peer-reviewed studies on cancer prevention. Let me tell you about Margaret. She is 67 years old, retired school teacher from Asheville, North Carolina. Picture her sitting in my office 3 years ago, chronically fatigued, elevated inflammatory markers on every test, and a family history of colorectal cancer that terrified her. Her diet was actually quite healthy in most respects, but she had 0 fermented foods. None. Here is what the research shows. In 2021, Stanford University School of Medicine published a groundbreaking study in the journal Cell. Adults who consumed high-fiber, high-fermented food diets showed dramatically increased microbiome diversity and a measurable decrease in 19 specific inflammatory proteins, several of which are directly associated with cancer progression. But here's what makes this especially critical after 50. After age 60, something called intestinal permeability increases. Your gut lining literally becomes more porous, a condition sometimes called leaky gut. This allows bacterial toxins to enter your bloodstream, triggering systemic inflammation. That inflammation acts like fertilizer for precancerous cells. So I had Margaret add 2 servings daily, morning kefir and a small side of sauerkraut at lunch. Within 90 days, her C-reactive protein levels dropped by 38%. 38%! Her gastroenterologist was floored. She called me. She said, "Dr. Tang, I feel like myself again for the first time in years." The mechanism works through something called short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate, which is produced when beneficial gut bacteria ferment fiber. Butyrate literally signals precancerous cells in the colon to undergo apoptosis, cell death. Think of butyrate like a security guard, quietly escorting troublemakers out before any damage is done. Aim for 1 to 2 servings of naturally fermented food per day, not pasteurized, because heating kills the live cultures you need. Look for the words live and active cultures on the label. Now, here is the critical safety information. If you are on immunosuppressant drugs, like those given after organ transplants or for autoimmune conditions, talk to your doctor before adding fermented foods. The live bacteria can pose risks when your immune system is intentionally suppressed. If you have histamine intolerance, fermented foods may trigger headaches or digestive distress. Start with very small amounts. And if you experience unusual bloating, stop and consult your physician. Your synergy tip: pair fermented foods with prebiotic-rich foods, things like garlic, leeks, slightly underripe bananas. Because prebiotics feed the beneficial bacteria that fermented foods introduce, the combination compounds the effect dramatically. Number 4 is powerful, but number 3 is where the science gets truly extraordinary. And this is a good moment to hit that subscribe button. I release evidence-based health content for people over 50 every single week. Your support makes that possible. Now, number 3. Number 3 is something you have heard of, but I promise you have not heard it explained like this, and you almost certainly are not doing it in the way that actually triggers its cancer preventive effects. I am talking about daily walking. But not just any walking, metabolic walking. And the difference could literally be the difference between feeding cancer and starving it. Here is what you need to understand about how your body works. Your body runs on 2 primary fuel systems, glucose and oxygen. Cancer cells, due to a quirk in their metabolism first described by biochemist Otto Warburg in 1931, are almost exclusively dependent on glucose. They are quite poor at using oxygen for energy. This means that when you engage in sustained, moderate-intensity physical activity, the kind that elevates your heart rate to 55 to 70% of your maximum, you do two remarkable things simultaneously. You deplete circulating glucose, starving cancer cells of their preferred fuel, and you flood your tissues with oxygenated blood, creating an environment that is actively hostile to cancer cell survival. A meta-analysis from the American Cancer Society in 2020 reviewed data from 1.4 million adults, 1.4 million, and found that regular moderate physical activity was associated with a 42% reduction in colon cancer risk, a 38% reduction in breast cancer risk, and a 27% reduction in lung cancer risk, even in non-smokers. These are extraordinary numbers for something that requires no prescription. But here is where the aging-specific biology becomes critical. After age 65, your mitochondria decline. These are the tiny power generators inside your cells. They decline in both number and efficiency by up to 35%. Mitochondrial dysfunction is now understood to be a key driver of both aging and cancer progression. Sustained moderate walking is one of the only interventions proven to stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis, meaning it literally signals your body to create new, healthy mitochondria. Think of it like getting a new fleet of power generators installed in every cell. Now, let me tell you about Robert, 72 years old, retired teacher from Portland, Oregon. Picture him 3 years ago, sitting across from me, hands shaking slightly. He had just had a precancerous polyp removed during routine colonoscopy. He was terrified, and he was not exercising at all. I started him on a morning walking protocol, 35 minutes, 5 days per week. Nothing extreme, just consistent. Let me pause here, because I want you to understand what metabolic walking actually means. 30 to 45 minutes of continuous walking, at a pace where you can still hold a conversation, but would find it slightly difficult to sing. This needs to happen at least 5 days per week, and ideally in the morning before your first full meal, because fasted movement amplifies the glucose-depleting effect significantly. Now back to Robert. 3 months in, he messaged me. He said, "I am sleeping better, my energy is back." But the real breakthrough came at his 2-year follow-up colonoscopy. Clean. Nothing. His oncologist specifically noted his dramatically improved inflammatory markers, called his recovery exceptional. Robert told me walking felt like a form of medicine. He was right. It literally is. Now, critical safety information. If you have unstable angina, recent heart attack, or uncontrolled heart arrhythmias, do not start an exercise program without clearance from your cardiologist. If you are on blood pressure medication, walking can lower your blood pressure further. Monitor it, and bring your numbers to your doctor. You may need dose adjustments. If you have severe osteoarthritis or balance issues, consider water walking or seated exercises first. For synergy, pair your morning walk with your morning hydration from habit number 5. And if possible, walk somewhere with natural light, because morning sunlight exposure regulates your circadian rhythm, which in turn governs immune surveillance, your body's cancer detection system. The combination is far more powerful than either alone. Number 3 is remarkable, but the next 2 are where things get genuinely revolutionary. Number 2 involves something you eat, and the way it fights cancer after 50 is unlike anything else in the nutritional literature. Stay with me. Number 2. This is a compound, actually a family of compounds, found in a very specific category of vegetables, and the research on their cancer-fighting mechanism in adults over 50 is some of the most compelling science I have encountered in 25 years. I am talking about sulforaphane, the powerful bioactive compound found in cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, and most potently, broccoli sprouts. Here is what most doctors do not have time to explain in a 7-minute visit. In 2018, researchers at Johns Hopkins University published findings showing that sulforaphane activates a master genetic switch called NRF2. Think of NRF2 like the head of security for your DNA. When activated, it triggers over 200 protective genes simultaneously. Genes involved in detoxification, antioxidant defense, and critically, the repair of damaged DNA before it can mutate into cancer. And here is the aging-specific tragedy that makes this so urgent. NRF2 activity declines by approximately 40% between the ages of 50 and 70. 40%. Your DNA repair system is quietly shutting down. Sulforaphane essentially wakes it back up. A landmark study from the University of Illinois found that regular consumption of sulforaphane-rich foods was associated with a 52% reduction in bladder cancer risk, a 41% reduction in prostate cancer incidence, and significant reductions in breast and lung cancer markers. And perhaps most remarkably, a study from Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center found that sulforaphane actually targets cancer stem cells. These are the particularly dangerous cells that conventional chemotherapy often fails to eliminate, and that are responsible for cancer recurrence. Think of cancer stem cells as the generals of an army. You can wipe out the soldiers, but if the generals survive, they will rebuild. Sulforaphane goes after the generals. Now here's the preparation detail that 90% of people get completely wrong, and this is critical. Sulforaphane is not actually present in broccoli in its active form. It is created through a chemical reaction when you chew or chop the vegetable, activating an enzyme called myrosinase. But here is the issue. Cooking above 140 degrees Fahrenheit destroys myrosinase. Fully cooked broccoli delivers very little active sulforaphane. The optimal preparation method is this. Chop or lightly crush your broccoli or sprouts. Let it sit for 40 minutes before consuming or lightly steaming. This allows the myrosinase reaction to complete. Then steam for no more than 3 to 4 minutes. Raw broccoli sprouts require no cooking and deliver up to 50 times more sulforaphane per gram than mature broccoli. Aim for half a cup of raw broccoli sprouts daily, or 1 full cup of lightly prepared broccoli. Now, safety information. If you're taking blood thinners like warfarin, cruciferous vegetables are high in vitamin K, which can interfere with your medication. You do not have to avoid them, but you need consistency. Eat the same amount daily, and have your INR monitored by your doctor. If you have thyroid issues, particularly hypothyroidism, large amounts of raw cruciferous vegetables can interfere with thyroid hormone production. Lightly steaming them reduces this risk. And if you are on certain chemotherapy drugs, sulforaphane may interact. Always discuss with your oncologist before adding therapeutic amounts. Your synergy tip. This is crucial. Pair your cruciferous vegetables with a small amount of raw mustard seed powder, or raw radish. Both are independently rich in active myrosinase. Adding them to cooked cruciferous vegetables effectively restores the enzyme activity that cooking destroyed, increasing sulforaphane bioavailability by up to 4-fold. According to research from the Institute of Food Research in Norwich, this is number 2, and it is powerful. But what I am about to tell you for number 1, the single most impactful daily habit for cancer prevention after 50, this is what the research has been quietly building toward. This is the one. Number 1, sleep. But not just sleep. Specifically, what researchers now call oncological sleep architecture, meaning the specific quality and timing of sleep that activates your body's most powerful anti-cancer system. And the data on what happens to cancer risk when this system is disrupted is frankly terrifying. Here is what happens during deep, slow-wave sleep, stage 3 and stage 4. Your brain activates the glymphatic system. This is a recently discovered waste clearance network, first described by researchers at the University of Rochester in 2013. It uses cerebrospinal fluid to literally flush toxic proteins and cellular debris from your brain and nervous system. Think of it like a power wash cycle. That only runs at night, when the factory is closed. But the cancer connection goes far deeper than brain health. During the same deep sleep phases, your body produces its highest concentrations of melatonin, not just the sleep hormone, but one of the most powerful endogenous antioxidants known to science. A comprehensive review published in the journal Cancer Research in 2021 found that melatonin directly inhibits tumor angiogenesis. That means it blocks cancers from building the new blood vessels they need to grow. It also stimulates natural killer cells, the frontline soldiers of your immune system, whose specific job is to identify and destroy cancer cells before they establish themselves. And here is the devastating aging statistic. Melatonin production declines by up to 70% between the ages of 40 and 70. 70%. Most people over 65 produce almost negligible amounts during sleep. Your most powerful internal anti-cancer mechanism is running at a fraction of its capacity. A study from the International Agency for Research on Cancer in 2019 classified night shift work, which chronically disrupts sleep architecture, as a probable human carcinogen. Not a risk factor, a carcinogen. The same category as certain pesticides and industrial chemicals. That is how serious disrupted sleep is for cancer risk. Let me tell you about Eleanor, 71 years old, retired nurse from Scottsdale, Arizona. Picture her 3 years ago, exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, sleeping only 5 to 6 hours a night, waking frequently. Her immune panel showed severely suppressed natural killer cell activity, the cells responsible for cancer surveillance. I worked with her on what I call a sleep recalibration protocol. Consistent 10 p.m. bedtime, complete darkness, room temperature lowered to 67 degrees, all screens off 90 minutes before bed, and a small amount of tart cherry juice at 8 p.m. for its natural melatonin precursors. Week 1 was rough. She messaged me, said, "Dr. Tang, I am lying awake staring at the ceiling. This is frustrating." I told her, "Push through. Your circadian rhythm is recalibrating. It takes time." Week 2. She started falling asleep faster, but still waking at 3 a.m. I reminded her, "Stay consistent. Your body is learning." Week 3. The breakthrough. She slept 7 hours straight for the first time in a decade. She called me, nearly in tears. She said, "I forgot what it felt like to wake up rested." By week 6, her sleep duration reached 7.5 hours consistently. At her 3-month follow-up, her natural killer cell count had increased by 47%. 47%. Her oncology team was astonished. The research is clear. Adults over 60 who consistently sleep 7 to 8.5 hours per night in proper, dark, cool environments have cancer mortality rates up to 48% lower, compared to those sleeping under 6 hours. According to a 20-year cohort study from the University of California, San Diego, this is not a minor variable. This is the master switch. To optimize your sleep for cancer protection, do these things without negotiation. Set a consistent bedtime and wake time, even on weekends. Your circadian rhythm does not take days off. Make your room completely dark. Even small amounts of light suppress melatonin production. Blackout curtains, cover all LEDs. Cool your room to between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And avoid eating within 3 hours of sleep, because digestion competes with the cellular repair work your body needs to prioritize overnight. Now, critical safety considerations. If you're taking sedatives or sleep medications like benzodiazepines or Ambien, combining them with melatonin supplements can cause excessive drowsiness. If you are on blood pressure medications, melatonin can enhance their effect and lower your pressure too much. Monitor it. If you're taking antidepressants, particularly SSRIs, melatonin may interact. Discuss with your psychiatrist. And if you have sleep apnea, you need a CPAP or other treatment first, because disrupted breathing prevents deep sleep regardless of these protocols. Your synergy tip for sleep. Combine your sleep optimization with daily morning sunlight exposure from habit number 3. Walk outside within 30 minutes of waking, because morning light anchors your circadian rhythm and directly increases your evening melatonin output. The two habits working together create a biological environment in which cancer struggles to take hold. All of the studies referenced throughout this video are linked in the description below. I encourage you to read them, print them, share them with your doctor, and ask the questions your appointments often do not leave time for. Here is what I want you to hear as we close. You are not too old for prevention. The science does not have an age limit. Whether you are 55 or 85, whether you have had a cancer scare or never given it a thought, your body retains a remarkable capacity to heal, to defend, and to regenerate when you give it what it needs. These 5 habits: morning hydration, daily fermented foods, metabolic walking, sulforaphane-rich cruciferous vegetables, and restorative sleep. These are not exotic protocols. They are the conditions your biology was designed to thrive in. They cost almost nothing. They require no prescription, and every single morning you get a fresh opportunity to begin. Your independence, your quality of life, your ability to be present for the people you love. That is worth 30 minutes of walking, a glass of water, and a bedtime. Do not let anyone tell you it is too late. The research says otherwise, and so do I. If this video helped you, please subscribe to this channel and share it with someone you care about. Your mother, your father, your spouse, someone who needs this information today. Every week I go this deep into the science of aging well, and your support makes that work possible. And now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 habits are you starting first? Type the number in the comments. 1 for hydration, 2 for fermented foods, 3 for walking, 4 for cruciferous vegetables, 5 for sleep. I read every single comment, and next week I am covering something even more critical. The 3 blood tests everyone over 60 should demand from their doctor, but almost no one knows to ask for. You will not want to miss it.